This is the Chamber Link, connecting community, creating impact with Tyler Fischbach.
Welcome back to the Chamber Link for episode number 16, and we are here today in beautiful Fargo-Moorhead, a nice sunny day today. And today's topic is an important one. I feel like maybe I say that often, but this is a big topic. We're going to be discussing the future of the AgTech workforce. And clearly it's a critical discussion, not only for the nation and the world, but especially for our region. I mean, our region is so connected to agriculture that it doesn't really need more of an intro than that. But to kick us off today, so this morning I was reading a couple of articles before I came in, and we'll see if you guys agree or disagree with a couple of snippets I'm going to read. But I thought they were interesting, and they're fairly rudimentary, admittedly, but I think it's just an easy way for us to help set the stage. And so one I was reading this morning was from Country Guide, and they say there's trouble with the automated GIS and mapping features on the tractor, but you can't find a tech with enough knowledge to offer help. It's a very simple example of the kind of employment gaps that could keep farmers up at night and that prevent their adoption of new technology. The next one I read was from the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. This was interesting. They say, as labor-saving automation expands on farms, the workforce evolves. It not only becomes smaller, but also more skilled, capable of complementing new and increasingly complex technologies. In light of this, expanding food production in an era of declining farm labor supply, while continuing to build educational systems to prepare the workforce of tomorrow, is a major challenge around the world. This challenge is not limited to primary production. It also applies to other parts of agri-food systems, including processing, distribution, etc. If workers are not available with the necessary skills to complement new technologies, it will be difficult to meet a growing global demand for food, especially in places where the farm workforce is growing slowly or even declining. Now, this third article is from a little place called NDSU, and the title of this one is NDSU Research Data Could Help Address AgTech Workforce Needs in North Dakota. But I'm not going to read from that article because we have two experts here from NDSU and another expert here from another organization, NextGen Ag. And so we're just going to get into the conversation and let the experts do the talking today so you don't have to keep hearing from me. So normally I would introduce the guests, but it would help me today because I'm certainly not a subject matter expert in this arena. If you guys each introduced yourself and kind of maybe give us a 30 or 60-second overview of what you do professionally and how it relates to this topic today. So maybe Chandler, we can start down there with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate the intro and the opportunity to be a part of this discussion. Chandler Graham. Like you mentioned, I started a group called NextGen Ag in Fargo here, but my day job I work for Marsh McLennan Agency. We're a full service from business insurance to employee health and benefits, but I specifically work on our agribusiness team. So work from clients ranging from farm to commercial, co-ops, food processing, whatnot. But with NextGen Ag, the thought and idea around it was there's so many of these funneled groups, whether that could be specific to their particular within ag, but I wanted to create a group where we could bring different people within the agribusiness world and bring them into a common place where they wouldn't normally collaborate. And what that would also include would be college students to emerging tech businesses like we speak of to well-established business, and create an ecosystem where we're forcing some of those collaboration think tanks, sharing ideas and whatnot. So we've been doing that for the last 3 years, and as of late have been collaborating with the FM Chamber Agribusiness Committee on that. So appreciate the introduction.
Fantastic. Thank you.
I'm Dr. Brooke Thiel. I'm excited to be here representing NDSU. I'm an assistant professor of agricultural education, and prior to my role at NDSU, I was a high school ag teacher. So if you're familiar with FFA or 4-H, those organizations were really important to me as a youth, and then as an adult working with high school students. My role as a professor, I primarily teach future ag teachers, and really the goal of high school ag education is to prepare the workforce in agriculture. And so I've adopted that at the college level as well, and thinking about what can my role be to promote agricultural careers broadly across the state of North Dakota, not just with college students, but reaching into the K-12 space, as well as reskilling and upskilling of adult learners. So that's been my role now with the Farms Grant. has been working with ag workforce development across the state.
Great, thank you. And I think maybe we'll touch on the farms grant too. We'll get into that later. Carmel?
Good morning. Thank you for having me today. I work for NDSU Extension. My name's Carmel Miller, and I was hired about a year ago in this NSF AgTech Engine funded role as a workforce coordinator. And I see my role in helping North Dakota build capacity to embrace innovation in ag tech by developing and strengthening the workforce. And I was interested in ag tech, or I've always been interested in ag tech. Previously, I served as a precision ag faculty member at Bismarck State College, so I spent about a little over 20 years in the ag tech industry.
Well, very good. Well, thank you three for introducing yourselves. And here is a question, again, just to kind of lay a foundation. I know if I'm going to a networking meeting with somebody and we start throwing out words like ag tech and things like that, not everybody totally knows what that means yet. And so I don't know who wants to take this, but can you explain what that means and maybe, you know, how this has all evolved and how the last 5 years have maybe, because I don't think I've even heard that word until maybe 2021 or something like that. So I don't know who wants to help maybe explain what ag tech is, but I think that would be kind of interesting for our listeners. Like, what is all of this?
I can take a stab at it. So I think initially, when you think of ag tech, you think about robotics and drones and precision agriculture, variable rate application, GPS, et cetera, et cetera. But as we've worked in the ag tech workforce sphere in North Dakota, I'm not certain there's a single part of agriculture that's not touched by technology, whether yet or in the future. And so really when we approach ag tech, I think about it very holistically as the agricultural industry as a whole. And what are the technological advances that are going to benefit every sector of the agricultural industry? So it kind of gives us a broad definition, but it's really, you know, the future of agriculture.
Well, and that's helpful too, because you're right. It doesn't just mean that somebody's using a drone, right? It's very broad. So that's helpful. So I'm curious, and maybe Carmel, this could be for you. It was maybe a month ago, I think Forbes had an article on our region. We've heard it all the time, like Silicon Prairie, things like that. But what is it that makes North Dakota well positioned to be a part of this whole ag tech revolution? Why are we special, do you think?
Well, beyond the obvious, you know, 90% of our land base, or probably over 90% of our land base in North Dakota is agriculture, and agriculture is a big driver of our economics in our state. But North Dakota has really developed a reputation for innovation in agriculture. We have the universities and the researchers, and we have agribusinesses and farmers, producers. And what I hear from people outside the area is we're really good at collaborating. And so maybe it's because of our small population, but we work really well together. So, so researchers working with producers, working with investors, working with agribusinesses to bring innovation and technology to market is probably what we bring to the market.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you brought up collaboration, because I think that might be a theme we talk about. We talk about CWPs and, of course, your work, Chandler, with NextGen Ag. So we're going to keep getting into all of this. We're at our first break already, so we're going to take a couple minutes off, and we will be right back. Welcome back to the show, and we are talking about the future of the ag tech workforce today. And Carmel, I think I have a question for you. And if you could explain this would help, because we've heard about, and my team member Jane at the Chamber, she's into this work too, so she talks all about community workforce partnerships. Can you explain exactly what those are and how you're engaging communities from across the state?
Yeah, we wanted to understand the workforce landscape across the state of North Dakota, so we held 8 community workforce partnership meetings all across the state this winter and early spring. And we brought together stakeholders with an interest in agriculture and the workforce. So people like community leaders, we had mayors, county commissioners, people involved in economic development, of course, producers, farmers, and ranchers, The educational community was really interested, so CT directors, principals, teachers, along with college faculty and staff, and just anybody interested in rural workforce. And we wanted to find out the challenges and the opportunities during what we called listening sessions, where we were just listening to the stakeholders. And so this group of people we're now terming the Ag Technology Knowledge Network, and they will help advise us moving forward with the NSF AgTech Engine in how we can invest in communities towards developing the AgTech workforce.
Okay, that's great. And maybe this could lead us into, well, I'm curious, what were some of those challenges and opportunities that maybe bubbled up to the top after those CWPs? And then maybe if you could explain how that connects with the NSF and maybe just unpack what that means. I think that could be pretty interesting.
Okay. Well, we found out that rural North Dakota really faces a lot of hurdles in terms of workforce shortage, but also housing and childcare and infrastructure, some of the challenges. But in the meetings across the state, we also found incredible innovation and big ideas, and especially pride in living and working in rural North Dakota. And so I think, in the big picture is we just need to figure out how to build capacity so that we can embrace ag tech. And you can do that through strengthening and development of the workforce, and then trying to find ways to revitalize rural North Dakota.
That's great. Well, and Brooke, that makes me curious from your end too. And hopefully this is an on-point question just because I don't know. But are you also seeing trends in your research or gaps, or what does that look like in your world?
Yeah, so I was involved in the community workforce partnerships as well. And really the gap that is the scariest for North Dakota is just the shortage of workforce in our state. And within agriculture specifically, as farms have gotten larger and people have left rural communities, there are fewer youth exposed to agriculture at an early age. And what we know is that youth make their career decisions based on their experiences in a lot of cases. And oftentimes having a family member or a friend, a close family friend who farms or works in agriculture, that's that exposure that really gets them interested in that career. And so my worry is that as we have a more urban workforce, youth that don't have that touch point of engaging in agriculture or develop the misconception that agriculture is all farming, we see fewer and fewer youth consider careers in agriculture, which ultimately reduces our workforce further. And so, we've worked on addressing that, especially through this grant as well, is how do we create more opportunities for career exposure for youth in that, 6th through 8th grade, and then career immersion in the 9th through 12th grade, and then quality career preparation at the post-secondary level and adult level so that we can build that workforce pipeline to get people into the ag tech workforce.
Well, I'm curious, as we sit here today, are there things going on now where you're like, this is great when it comes to exposure and experience? Are there things going on right now that are going well? And maybe what are things that we need to ratchet up a little bit over the next 5 years when it comes to getting these young individuals involved and exposed?
Absolutely. There's a ton of great things happening across the state and nation. Specifically this week alone, the National FFA organization is hosting the NextGen Ag conference at Grand Farm outside of Castleton, North Dakota, where they're bringing in youth from around the country to highlight ag tech as a future career. That's funded by several different partners to provide that education and opportunity to those youth. We have a strong network of 4-H clubs and ag education programs across our states and counties in North Dakota that expose youth to careers. But I like to think, I live in Fargo, West Fargo, right? And I grew up in agriculture. I've joked that when I had my son 6 years ago, I had 14 years to get ag education into the West Fargo Public School District because I want my kids to have exposure to agriculture. And I know that doesn't have to just happen through school-based ag education. There are other ways to make that happen. And so, places like the Red River Valley Fair with their ag education building, the Northern Crops Institute hosting their Summer Ag Academy where kids come in from around the the upper Midwest to learn about careers in agriculture. Those are the types of programs where we find opportunities to really immerse kids in the career opportunities, to show them that agriculture is so much more than plows and cows. And, there's opportunities for high wage, high demand, high skill careers across the board.
That's fantastic. So clearly getting people involved at a young age, getting students involved is paramount. But Chandler, from your perspective too, and you maybe touched on this in your intro, what does that look like from your end when it comes to connecting people, building a network, advocating for people? Because it's maybe a little different. Maybe you did mention young professionals though too. But what do you see in the importance of getting the people you work with connected and even just networking with each other? Like, how is that making an impact?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So in my day-to-day job with Marshall Clinton Agency, I'm meeting with business owners, leadership, whether that's a farm owner or operational owners. And they talk continually. It's like, we can't necessarily find the people that we used to be able to 10 to 15 years ago. And sometimes I challenge back and I say, so, well, what have you done to seek them out too? And so with some of that, one of the initiatives with NextGen Ag, is to bring business leadership, farm leadership together, but also how can we, again, create intentional spaces where we are including college students from NDSU or from M-State or any of these, or even high schools for that matter, and not only just the ag students, but how do we open up the purview to the greater student population to understand, to your point, it's not just plows and cows, there's a lot of really cool jobs and different things you can go. Every operation potentially needs an accountant, or they need someone who's good at cybersecurity. Those are all absolute needs that most of these other businesses need. And I don't think it's forgotten, but at times I think we do forget the bedrock of just this community alone is the big players in the agribusiness or food companies. So I think continuing to bring those opportunities to force that collaboration is going to drive that as well.
Well, speaking of opportunities and building intentional spaces, and I told you I wasn't going to forget. So we have an intentional opportunity tomorrow, correct? And correct me if I get this wrong, but it's before our Big Iron reception tomorrow, and this panel is called the Animal Agriculture Industry Leader Panel.
Yes.
Did I get that?
You got it.
Okay, what's that about? What's going on there?
So this is going to be a NextGen Ag event, very similar to how we've structured it, but it's going to be a panel from 4 to 5. It's going to be 3 different individuals that are currently on pretty large-scaled protein agriculture or livestock operations, and then someone representing from an advocacy standpoint, North Dakota Livestock Alliance. But the intention is to provide education, help them understand the economic benefits of what these businesses or farms bring to communities from an ancillary business aspect, and then post that is just the opportunity to connect and network with some of those. So anyone is welcome to that. It's open. We'd like you to register, but anyone is welcome for that event, ranging from college to, like I said, well-established business.
Well, and so to your point, it's not only ag businesses that should be going to this, right? So I'll push you one step further. Like, we want business leaders to be here, right?
Correct.
Learning about this, getting engaged. So this is open to anyone and everybody.
Correct. Exactly.
That's fantastic. Okay, thank you guys very much. All right, time's flying. We're going to get to the news, so we're going to take our second break, but then we'll be back for more ag tech workforce talk. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Chamber Link, and we're just going to keep rolling. And so we have a question for Carmel, and I would love if you could explain what the NSF AgTech Engine is, and kind of, because I know it's a lot, it's a big deal, but if you could unpack that for our listeners, I think that'd be a good thing for people to understand and know the impact that this is having and is going to have.
So you're right. It's a big thing, and it's hard to explain in just a few words. But it's really designed to accelerate ag tech innovation and research by connecting researchers, industry leaders, and then communities, so that we can identify promising technologies and then bring them to market or scale them in a accelerated manner, so that when a technology is developed, the communities are involved, and so that technology can be adopted and supported and so forth. So it's really about accelerating ag tech across the state of North Dakota and beyond.
Well, and I want to bring up too, I don't remember exactly when this was, but I remember going to a press conference when this was announced. This was a huge deal, the people that showed up for that. And I know you're probably being humble, but can you explain the scale of this and how it, because I know there were other awards across the country too, but if I'm not mistaken, this was the only ag focused one, right?
Yeah, as there were 10 original NSF engines that were financed, and North Dakota received the only one in agriculture. So it, in its full concept, it will be a 10-year project that will bring a lot of money for ag tech innovation into our state.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you for the work you're doing on that. Thank you very much. Okay, Brooke, I know when I read those comments earlier, I'm like, hey, you're going to agree or disagree with these, right? And so let's circle back to that because, and this comes up too when we talk about AI just generally, where it's like, okay, it's not going to steal every single job, but the jobs are going to change and evolve, right? And so maybe that's something you can dive into more that those comments maybe didn't address, is like how training needs to evolve, et cetera. So if you want to take that and run.
Yeah, this is something that keeps me up at night. So, as we think about quality education and viewing education, specifically career and technical education like agriculture, how do we prepare students for these future careers? And what we know, based on the articles that you shared and based on what we've been hearing from industry, is the need for manual labor, for on-farm labor, is decreasing across the nation, across the world. But that doesn't mean that there will be a need for fewer people to work in agriculture, specifically in high skills careers like a person who's going to have, do computer software troubleshooting with that producer whose machinery isn't working, during the middle of harvest. And so, as a teacher whose job is to prepare youth for those careers, it can be really overwhelming to think about how to learn the technology, to teach the technology, to prepare students for those careers. And at the high school level, I really do believe it's about exposure, and it's about training students to have critical thinking skills, creativity, problem solving, being comfortable with technology, being able to ask good questions and figure out how they could come up with a solution. And then really once we get to the post-secondary level, that's where we have the opportunity with our partners across the state to offer associate's degrees, certificates, stackable credentials that are specific to the skill needs in whatever industry it is that they're working. And that's what makes me so excited about the NSF AgTech Engine, is it's really giving us the opportunity to understand, what are the skill needs for our ag tech businesses, and how can educational entities meet them where they're at to provide them with the training, or to provide their employees with the training that they need. Because we don't want to waste our time either, right? Yeah. Training students on technology that's outdating faster than, we can turn around and teach it to our students. And so, what are their specific needs, and how can we adapt our training to support, those careers?
And if I might add a little bit to that, one of the things that we heard at the CWP meetings is, as people get more removed from the farms, the need for ag literacy is out there, right? So some of those basic agriculture knowledge of what goes on a farm, and and crops and the landscape in North Dakota is definitely needed, because more and more people are away from the farm and don't have that experience. So that, along with soft skills, was something that we heard was really important. So that's not going to go away. And so when I think about, what skills are needed in the future, ag literacy, soft skills, and we're still going to need mechanics, and we're still going to need technicians, and we're going to need people in rural North Dakota, but we're also going to need the advanced technology skills too. So in my mind, what we need is just broader and more diverse than what we needed before.
Yep. Well, and I'm not going to ask you the magic wand question, but are there things, Brooke, if you look maybe, let's say, 10 years out, where you want to say, oh my gosh, if I could paint a perfect picture, this would be a little different, or working better, this system would be a little farther along? Maybe that's way too big of a question, but I know you've probably thought about it.
Yeah, I have. If I had a magic wand, this is so biased, but I would have ag education in every single school across the state of North Dakota, yeah. K through 12, for that ag literacy component primarily. But knowing that that's not possible, I would take a second, next best option would be finding ways to immerse our academic curriculum in agriculture. So thinking about, as youth learn various objectives in their classes? How can we tie their learning to agriculture so that, when they're learning computer science, instead of doing, I don't know anything about computer science, but, a problem related to computer science, that they're solving that within the context of agriculture. Or when they're learning about, anatomy and physiology in their biology class, they're learning about that within the context of agriculture, and they're being exposed to careers that are more than just farming and ranching, that they are, being exposed to careers in research and development, in plant pathology, in advanced ag engineering, etc.
Gosh, yeah, this is fun for me as you guys are talking through this. I'm learning so much, and yeah, it was an understatement when you said this is a holistic topic that we're discussing today. So thank you for unpacking it. Chandler, I'm going to ask maybe a similar question, and you can take this however you want it, but I'm even thinking about NextGen Ag. When you have an outlook over the next 5-10 years, what are your goals for not only your organization, but what do you want to see? What are your hopes and dreams that you hope to accomplish?
Yeah, first and foremost is even more participation. Kind of back to my points of, obviously we want to lean on the university systems to help us, but at the same time, how can we encourage and get those that are participating in it directly to tell their story? How cool is it to be able to share that you are in a position where you are the bedrock of our existence in society, I guess, in terms of we're fueling the world, we are feeding the world, we are clothing the world, and how cool to be able to say that you're a part of that. And I think if we emphasize that more and share that to the greater population of those that don't really maybe understand that, we're going to get a lot more attraction to that. I don't necessarily know all the ways to get there, but I think if people continue to take individual steps and create little microcosms, that it's going to continue to blossom into something really cool.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious, what could be one of those 1 or 2 steps on the show when I don't forget to do it? I like to have our guests say, like, hey, to the business leaders who are listening to this or watching this, whether you work at Marsh McLennan Agency or DSG or Shields, doesn't matter. What would you say to business leaders about, like, this is how you can get more involved? This is what would help us and what we're trying to do. I don't know if you have that ask for anybody, but it's a real thing. Sometimes people just need to be told and or asked to take a next step. So I don't know if you have 1 or 2 of those in your head, but
yeah, the obvious answer is internships, opportunities that way, tours of facilities, or just immersing and letting them share what we do. We're proud of it. I'm going to steal one that I heard from Steve Shields mention, but we want to be so good at what we do that other people want to tell our story for us. Yeah. So I would say in terms of the agriculture world, it's how do we get to the point where it's so attractive that other people want to help share and bring people into this industry that way.
Very good. And I know I told you guys before we started the show, this is kind of a weird episode because our last segment today, we're doing something a little new. And so unfortunately, we're at the tail end of things, at least with the 4 of us. But I want to say, thank you for the work that you were doing. It's important work. And on behalf of the chamber and our members, we appreciate that. So thank you. And thank you for being here, too. Hopefully I wasn't too hard on you. I had a lot of fun. You taught me a lot. And before we get to our last break, I'm going to make one update, and then I'll set you free so you can go to class. But I do want to remind everybody, and this isn't ag related, but it's important to us, that the chamber is taking a charter bus to Camp Ripley on September 24. And we're going to spend some time with the Minnesota National Guard. And so we're going to go down there and witness firsthand their training out there. If you're like me, you get to see things blow up. Pretty cool. So I think that's an incentive. And there's no cost to do this. So if you have an interest in our military, you know how much the chamber supports this, and it's important that our businesses engage with it. You can go to our website. You can call Kale, do whatever you need to do, but we have room on the bus still. So I would implore you to take advantage of that, and we hope to see you there. With that, we will move on to our last break and final segment, but thank you 3 again for joining us today. All right, we are back with our last segment of the day, and I actually have 3 new guests with me today. We'll get to them in just a second. But after 16 episodes of this show and 9 years at the Chamber, this is my last week at the Chamber of Commerce, and last week being the host of the show. And so I just want to give a major, major thank you to all of our chamber members, to all of our sponsors, our community leaders, and of course, the chamber teammates that I've had over 9 years, everybody has been incredible. I've learned so much. I've had the opportunity to be collaborating with so many people, and I'm just very grateful for that. I was hoping to not have to do this on the radio, but here we are. I did announce it on Facebook too. It was like Facebook official a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, just thank you to everybody who I've been lucky enough to work with and who's helped the chamber. Seriously appreciate it. And I will be moving over to Hebron Brick starting next week and starting a marketing department for those guys. And so I'm really looking forward to that next chapter and being involved still in this awesome business community in just a different way. And so thank you for that. Thank you for listening to me for 16 episodes. I'm sorry that you've had to keep doing that over and over. I also want to give a shout out to the flag. Cannot forget the flag for this partnership and this radio show. We seriously appreciate that. And all the other things they do with us. You guys are awesome. So thank you, JT and Londa and everybody here. Scott, everybody has been so great to work with. So moving forward with the show will maintain. So don't you worry. The show will still be here, but we're going to be doing it a little bit differently moving forward. And so our episodes are going to have rotating hosts, which I think will be a lot of fun, actually. And again, then you don't have to just hear one person all the time. We're going to have different experts from within the chamber come in and host the shows that are within their sphere. And so I think this is going to be a pretty cool change. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to go around and let them introduce themselves and what they do at the chamber, just so you can get to know them. I think we've already had a couple of you on the show. I can't remember. Yeah. So they're not completely new faces, but let's do that. Abby, let's start with you. Who are you? What do you do at the chamber? And yeah, just take it away.
Stife. I'm the Director of Member Development at the Chamber, coming up on my 4-year mark, which is crazy. Time flies when you're having fun. And so I handle everything from our prospective members, new members, current members, really anything you can think membership-wise at the Chamber. I kind of handle and oversee a lot of that. Work on an amazing team, though, alongside of me. But yeah, so that's kind of my role at the Chamber.
Fantastic. Catherine?
I'm Catherine Grinberg, our Executive Vice President at the Chamber. And I was just saying, I don't think actually any of the 16 episodes, I don't think I've been on. I've helped get some of the guests, but I haven't been on myself. But at the Chamber, I work with a lot of our partners, our community builders in specific, those that are highly invested in the Chamber's work, either through their resources or their time. So primarily spend my time there, and then kind of any of the external partnership things. So what a lot of the things are that we talk about on this show. Any of the big community, big rock issues that we work on as a chamber, I usually am a part of those as well.
Mm-hmm. Jane?
My name is Jane Bangsness-Frisch, and I serve as the Vice President of Workforce for the Fargo-Moorhead West Fargo Chamber. I think it's been about 1.5 years now, which has been great. I think it's probably easiest to explain my work based on the guests that you just had. So very involved, not only in convening, connecting, collaborating to have a thriving workforce throughout our community, which really translates into a flourishing business community as well.
Very good. And I will also say, these two are not here, but Kel Dunwoody, who is our VP of Public Policy, without a doubt, you'll see him on the show. And of course, Miss Shannon Full will certainly make appearances. And I think our audience knows those two. They've been on once or twice as well. But okay. We have a couple minutes left, and so let's do a quick fun round. I'm gonna give you 2 questions to choose from.
Oh, here we go.
Tyler, why didn't you prep us?
Yeah.
Because it's fun this way.
Oh, is it?
So how
My
about
heart's
this? I'll make it easy. What is your favorite part of your job, or what is something looking back on 2025 that makes you proud, whether it's of our business community or chamber or whatever? And so I don't know if one of those is easier than the other, but yeah. Putting you on the spot.
All right, I'm going to go first.
Yeah.
Favorite part of my job related to workforce is getting to help people enter in our workforce or get elevated within our workforce. It's amazing getting people to come to Fargo-Moorhead, West Fargo, but also getting people to realize the value in our community and investing themselves through their work. So that's my favorite part. What was the other question, Tyler?
Was there something that you look back on in 2025 that makes you proud? And it doesn't have to be even about the chamber, just about the business community at large.
Yeah, I think this community has embraced the fact that the workforce issue is not someone else's issue. It's all of our issue. And I've seen that through the investment in the conversation, the connection, and the collaboration that's happened I can't pick one thing, but it's truly the constant collaboration and connection that we hear from our members, but also from our entire region, our state, and honestly, nationally, investing in our people to get them to stay and attracting new ones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Abby, Catherine?
Yeah, I can go. I think if I had to pick one thing about my job that I really love, I think that I get to get a little inside peek of some businesses that are coming to the area or that are going to be opening their doors. I came to Fargo in 2014, and it's really just been incredible to see how much this community has grown. I mean, Horace is starting to just really expand. I've even seen some businesses pop up in Castleton. West Fargo is becoming just a hot spot as well. And so just really seeing this community grow and being a part of that is probably my favorite part of my job.
Good answer.
I think I would say how connected and supportive our business community is. I didn't realize that joining the business community 7 years ago here in this region, and I've really found that it's a very interconnected community. You go to events or programming, and you know someone that knows someone, or somehow connected in the business world. So I love that part of it, and I think I would say for 2025, probably the easy answer is Innovate 28 and kicking that off. That was a huge feat that we had been working on for a long time coming, and to really kick it off this year and start the program of work, having workforce and public policy and the business development all in one area. It's not always the easiest to partner, but we've made it work and figured out how to move our community forward.
Very good. Thank you, guys. Well, that's bringing us toward the end of the show, and we've had a good run. It's been fun being here, and next week, or one of the weeks coming up, they will be back. So make sure to stay tuned in, because this show will be back, and it's going to be probably more fun, I would say, with you guys hosting. You're going to do a great job.
We're all like, thank you, Tyler, for
Thank you
everything
so
that you've
much.
done
Yeah,
with the
right.
chamber.
Thanks, Ty.
Thank you, guys. And that's a wrap. We'll see you next time.